David Hensley, a weary office worker in his early 30s, found himself trudging through the desolate outskirts of Ravenswood, a small town surrounded by dense woods. The clock on his wristwatch indicated midnight, and the pale glow of the moon struggled to penetrate the thick canopy of trees that bordered the narrow road. David had stayed late at the office, trying to meet an impossible deadline imposed by his demanding boss. Now, with his energy depleted and his mind foggy from fatigue, he longed for the comfort of his modest home on the outskirts of town. The road ahead was dimly lit by sporadic streetlights, casting long, ominous shadows that seemed to reach out for him. As he walked, a peculiar sensation crept over him, a feeling that he was being watched. He glanced over his shoulder, but the only company he had was the rustling leaves and the distant hoots of owls. Dismissing the unease as mere exhaustion playing tricks on his mind, David quickened his pace. The path led him deeper into the heart of the forest, the trees closing in like silent sentinels. A cold wind whispered through the branches, carrying with it a faint, indistinct murmur that sent shivers down David's spine. He rubbed his arms, trying to shake off the chill, but the oppressive atmosphere clung to him. In the distance, a soft glow flickered, barely visible through the thick foliage. Intrigued, David hesitated before veering off the main path, guided by the eerie radiance. The glow intensified as he approached, revealing an ancient lantern suspended from a twisted branch. Beneath the lantern, a narrow trail veered off the main path, disappearing into the shadows. David hesitated, glancing back at the dimly lit road he had left behind. Something whispered in the back of his mind, a voice urging him to explore the forgotten trail. Summoning a mixture of curiosity and trepidation, David stepped onto the forgotten trail. The air grew heavier, and the rustling of leaves beneath his feet seemed to echo louder in the oppressive silence. The trail twisted and turned, revealing glimpses of moonlight through the dense canopy above. As he ventured deeper, the glow of the lantern faded, leaving David in near total darkness. He strained his eyes to discern the path ahead, each step an uncertain plunge into the unknown. Unearthly shadows danced on the periphery of his vision, and the silence became deafening. Abruptly, the trail opened into a small clearing. In its center stood an ancient mansion, its silhouette ominous against the night sky. The windows glowed with ghostly light, and an unsettling melody wafted through the air, as if played by unseen hands on a long-forgotten piano. Despite the foreboding aura, David felt an inexplicable compulsion to enter the mansion. The front door creaked open with a haunting groan, and he stepped into the grand entrance hall. Faint whispers echoed through the empty corridors, and the air was thick with the scent of decay. The mansion seemed frozen in time, its rooms filled with relics of a bygone era. Dust-covered furniture, faded portraits, and tattered curtains swayed in the ghostly breeze that flowed through the open windows. David explored room after room, each revealing fragments of a tragic history. In one chamber, he encountered a spectral figure, a woman in a flowing gown, her eyes empty and mournful. She reached out to him, her voice a haunting lament. "You should not have come. This place is cursed, a prison for lost souls." Chilled to the bone, David pressed on, driven by an unrelenting force deeper into the mansion. Unseen hands seemed to guide him through secret passages and hidden chambers, each unveiling a part of the mansion's tormented narrative. The atmosphere grew more oppressive, and the boundaries between reality and the supernatural blurred. Whispers turned into anguished cries, and shadows coalesced into ephemeral figures that danced through the haunted halls. The mansion itself seemed to come alive, its walls pulsating with an otherworldly energy. In the heart of the mansion, David encountered a spectral gathering, a masquerade frozen in time. Ghostly dancers twirled in a macabre waltz, their faces hidden behind masks of eternal sorrow. The haunting melody reached a crescendo, and the air crackled with an otherworldly energy. A figure emerged from the spectral assembly, a man in tattered finery, his eyes ablaze with an ethereal fire. He spoke in cryptic riddles, recounting the tragic tale of the mansion's inhabitants. The living are not welcome here. Leave before the boundary between worlds collapses, trapping you in eternal torment. Terrified but compelled to heed the warning, David retraced his steps through the twisting corridors. The once familiar passages now seemed distorted, shifting like a nightmare that refused to release its grip. The mansion groaned and moaned, its very structure resisting his escape. As he approached the exit, the spectral figures intensified their pursuit. Ghostly hands reached out, cold and insubstantial, attempting to pull him into their shadowy realm. Desperation fueled David's every step, and he burst out of the mansion into the cool night air. The forgotten trail loomed before him, its darkness now a harbinger of unspeakable horrors. The mansion's spectral glow receded, but the echoes of the haunting melody lingered in the air. The boundary between the living and the dead seemed fragile, as if the mansion itself sought to reclaim what had briefly trespassed into its domain. David ran through the woods, the trees whispering ancient secrets as he passed. The distant glow of Ravenswood's lights flickered through the foliage, a beacon of normalcy in the midst of the supernatural nightmare. His breath came in ragged gasps, and his heart pounded with the echoes of the mansion's tormented symphony. Finally emerging onto the outskirts of town, David stumbled toward the comforting glow of his home. The moon hung low in the sky, its pale light casting a serene glow on the familiar surroundings. The oppressive weight that had clung to him in the woods lifted, replaced by a lingering sense of dread. As he reached his doorstep, David glanced back at the forest, half expecting the spectral figures to emerge from the shadows. The night remained silent, and the forgotten trail vanished into the darkness. The mansion, with its tragic history and haunted halls, became a distant memory, but the scars of the supernatural encounter etched themselves deep into his consciousness. With a heavy sigh, David stepped into the warmth of his home, the door creaking shut behind him. The clock on the wall chimed, marking the passing hours of a night that would forever be etched in his memory. The mysteries of the forgotten trail and the haunted mansion would remain shrouded in the enigmatic depths of Ravenswood's ancient woods, a tale whispered in hushed tones by those who dared to traverse the boundary between the living and the dead.